my friends. Jacob is here once again. Thanks for joining me for Press and Play, for spending a little time with me. We're getting ready for the big Christmas season, right? Big news. Heading back to Bethlehem. The Pope sent a fragment of the manger. That's right. They say that it is a piece of the manger that held Yahshua, Jesus, the Messiah. Is it true? We're going to find out on today's show, so I hope you're buckled up. Hey, how you doing? Welcome back to the show. I'm glad you're here. This is an interesting one because when I heard the news that a fragment of wood from the manger that held the baby Jesus, the cute little baby, the baby, oh, good grief. It was a big deal, right? There was a celestial event that paved the way. There were shepherds in the field that were tending the flocks. Everybody came and paid tribute. You had the Magi. It was a big deal. This was the Savior of the world in a manger. A lot of people think a manger is a crib. It's not. It's a feeding trough. That's where the animals eat. That was the only place that was available to house the child of God. Interesting. Before we get into the symbolism of all this, because it was just an itsy bitsy little teeny piece, a little fragment. Before we get into the symbolism, let me read you this. A fragment of wood believed to have formed part of Jesus' manger has been returned to Bethlehem after 1,000 years in Europe. Pope Francis ordered the return of the thumb-size relic, this one. Speaking of which, do you know what a relic is? A relic is an object surviving from an earlier time, but it is also a part of a deceased holy person's body. Like the bone, the fragment of the bone of St. Peter that the Pope returned earlier too. He's been giving away all the relics, and then he's been bringing in a bunch of other interesting things. The relic was encased, of course, like all of these things, they have to be bedazzled with lots of gold and lots of jewels. Here's a picture of the guy carrying it down. It was welcomed to Bethlehem on Saturday by a procession of a marching band and taken to the Church of St. Catherine, next to the Church of the Nativity, where tradition says Jesus was born. Okay, so Abbas, the president, kind of like said, hey, can you get it back to us? He said, can you bring it back? And now it's there because every Christmas you get like tens of thousands of Christian pilgrims that come. They want to see it. So this is a big deal. Some Christians believe that this tiny piece of wood formed part of the crib. They say crib. It wasn't a crib. It was a feeding trough. There was no room for him at the inn, which is where people are supposed to find rest. No, the only place where the child of God was welcome was a feeding trough, which is interesting because that's where animals eat. Scriptures say that we are brute beasts, that we are animals, that we are beasts, if you will. So why would the baby Jesus, why would the child of God be placed in a feeding trough where animals eat? Well, to consume something, let's take a look at the metaphor here. When you consume something, you become one with it. If I eat an apple, the apple becomes me, right? Okay? It's pretty interesting. Think about that. You ever read a book? Some people say, I devoured that book. Knowledge. A consumption of knowledge. You're consuming these videos, right? And when you consume these videos and you devour the videos here.
Hopefully you subscribe and you check the bell and you got the notifications on so you get notified. And then you're here and you tick that like button and you give a little comment so that more people can watch the show.
But if you're consuming these videos, something that you're consuming becomes part of you. And then that spirit that was relayed through the video is kind of birthed in you. So this picture of the child of God being laid in a manger is beautiful because it's a picture of the child of God being given to all of us. being given to all of us, into our hearts. It brings a whole new meaning to why Jesus said, you got to eat my flesh and drink my blood. A lot of people are like, oh, Jesus is a cannibal. He's a vampire. He was actually trying to get people to think a little bit deeper, because it's very symbolic, because he gives his flesh to us. He gives his blood to us. And there's a symbolic meaning to all of this. But once again, it's about consumption of something. It's about becoming one with something. It's not about literally eating. It's not the Walking Dead in Bethlehem. So like 1,000 years ago, Rome was like collecting all the relics. It wanted to establish itself as the premier place. But little by little, they've been, because they're established enough, they're pretty much in charge of everything, right? So now they're giving back a little bit. They're not giving back the whole thing, because I guess they have quite a bit more of it, but they're giving a little teeny fragment. Now that's pretty interesting, okay? Because there's some symbolism there that I want to point out. A fragment of the place, the manger, the fragment of the feeding trough where Christ was placed, just a fragment, a little teeny bit, was brought back to Bethlehem, which is the house of God. So what does that mean for all of us? Could mean that there is a fragment of us that are ready and that are prepared and are ready to consume the truth of God whole. Especially if you're asking for the truth no matter what the cost, and you're going to the source, you're going to God. You're saying, all right, Lord, I want to know. Teach me. I don't want to listen to all these people out here, all paying attention, making a big deal out of hoopla. It's hoopla. That's what it is. These little relics, all these things, the crown of thorns that they saved from the Notre Dame Cathedral, right? The bone, the fragment of the bone of Peter, all these things, they're great tourist attractions, but you don't put your faith in them. A lot of people do. A lot of people pray to them. A lot of people sit down, and the scriptures are pretty clear about that. You shouldn't ever make an image of God to resemble anything in the earth, above the earth, beneath the earth. If you hear the word God, and that's even reductive, because we can't even really name the creator of all. It's impossible to know the things of God. The things of God are just revealed through the Son, through the child of God. But it's impossible to know. Even Jesus said he couldn't know the day or the hour. He doesn't know. He can only do what the Father tells him to do. He can only move as he is motivated to move. We're all part of this beautiful spirit, which is the Holy Spirit, which is God. We're all connected. But there's only a couple of people. There's only a small remnant of people that are consuming, that are becoming one with it, that are bringing about the fruits. Now, I know I told you about the cool coincidences in the meaning of names. Joseph means God is added. Mary means their rebellion, man's rebellion. God is added to man's rebellion. And of course, Yahshua means God is salvation. And Yahshua, he was a Nazarite, which is one that is separated from the world. So here you have a picture of God adding to man's rebellion salvation, and then separating them from the ways of the world, just in Joseph, Mary, and Jesus of Nazareth. Isn't that cool, right? And the salvation, Jehovah is salvation, was placed in a feeding trough for animals. We're filthy animals, right? We're filthy animals in that first state, in that first ignorant state, that Adam state, where we're all dead men walking, filthy animals. And yet, here comes the truth. Now, this is interesting, because there were times when people would come to Jesus and they're like, where are you going? Where are you going? And what do I got to do? And Jesus is like, foxes have holes. The birds of the air, they have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. That's a beautiful thing. A lot of people don't know what that means, but Scripture interprets Scripture. Foxes says that, O Israel, your prophets are foxes. Foxes spoil the vine. Foxes are like the religious leaders and the bad people. And we all have places, we all have holes in our hearts, so they can take residence there, and they can tell us what to do and what not to do, and they can rule us, right? Birds of the air. Birds are symbolic also of thoughts. You have birds of peace, like a dove, and then you have birds of prey, like a raven or a fowl bird, right? So you have these two separate types of birds, which are symbolic of thoughts, and we have these birds that they're placed for these thoughts in us. They're placed for these prophets and these liars in us. The political system. Jesus said, "You tell that fox." I think he was talking to Herod, that today I cast out demons. Tomorrow I do miracles. On the third day I'm going to be raised again. That's a picture, people, of all of us. And that fragment, that little piece of that manger is now available. that little piece, that's available for all of us right now to go and see. And I think that is beautiful. I think it's wonderful because that means that there's a small amount of hope is a lot of hope. A small amount of people becomes a great amount of people. A remnant shall be saved, and then all Israel shall be saved thereafter. That's the whole point. You got to have a first fruit in any kind of garden. When you plant a garden, you get that first little stripe of fruit. You know, you plant your cucumbers, you get a little couple of cucumbers, and if it comes out nice, you know the whole harvest is going to be nice. So here's for washing our hands of all the nonsense and all the idolatry and all the baloney that's going down in religion today, and starting to enter into that rest, starting to enter into that truth, starting to allow the truth of God to take resonance in our heart. Start to eat it, start to consume it, start to seek more. Seek the truth no matter what the cost. That's your little video for the day. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you do subscribe and share and tell your friends, and have the best day ever. And don't worry. But when Christ was laid in that manger, there were shepherds that were keeping watch over the flock at night. Night is symbolic of ignorance. There's shepherds out here today. There are people out here today that care about you and you and you and you. There are people, I care about you. There's shepherds out here, and they're ready to declare the day of the Lord. I hope you are too. I love you all. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.